In this video, we are going to discuss how to play the Caro-Kann defense with the black pieces, and particularly we are going to discuss how to play if white plays c4 on the fourth move in the advanced variation. It is a very important video for all those who want to play the Caro-Kann defense, so make sure to share this video with everyone. So I don't want to waste any further time, so let's start. So white starts with 1 e4, we play c6, d4, d5, and here white plays the move e5. In my previous I have already suggested you guys to play c5, but today I want to say play bishop to f5. After bishop f5, definitely many players likes to play this bishop f5, just first taking out this bishop because it usually remains bad in the French defense on the c8. So after bishop f5, on the fourth move already there are first of all many options to continue, but today we are going to look at how to continue if white plays c4. Already striking in the center. c4, obviously if you try to capture the pawn, it only helps white to capture the pawn back, and white is the one having a very good center. So that's why we first play e6 now, and after e6, now white is having majorly two moves, knight c3 or a3. First discussing a3 because it basically takes away the b4 square from the bishop, and after a3 we play the move d into c4. Takes, and now we play the move c5. And after c5 we are already striking in the center. White have to push the pawn, or else if white goes for capturing the pawn, we can already trade off the queens and capture on c5. So d5 the only move. We capture the pawn, bishop takes, and now already a very interesting move, which is queen to d7, and pretty logical. We want to play knight c6, but after takes, white can play queen a4, and black is having a bad pawn structure. Though nothing is happening, you are still pretty fine after knight e7 and bishop d3, a very strong move. This is also completely playable, but I believe white to just ruin up the pawn structure when you can already play queen d7. Your idea is to play knight c6, and the moment white captures the knight, we can capture the knight with the queen. So queen to b3, we play knight c6, knight to f3, and now just getting the rook into the game via d8. So knight to c3, and now knight to d4. Trading of the knights. Attacking the knight have to move, and now we can simply play the move a6 first. Obviously we can't really go for capturing the bishop because of the check and we lose the queen. So first a6, taking the knight, and after takes, just trade off the queens, and after takes, check. Material wise it's an even position, so you can already sense the better player who is having a better endgame would simply turn out to win the game. So yeah, this is exactly what happens if your opponent plays a3. So now let's discuss what happens if your opponent plays knight to c3. After knight c3 we play bishop b4. Our idea is pretty simple, we want to play knight e7 and short castle. So here white is already having 4 critical responses: a3, knight to f3, queen to b3, or even to take on d5. Discussing one by one, if queen b3, attacking the bishop, we play the move queen to a5. Defending the bishop, you can also play a5, but okay, queen a5 the main move, and you're putting pressure over here, you're also protecting the bishop. Bishop d2, and now already knight e7. Your idea is pretty simple, you want to simply short castle. So here white is again having two moves, either a3 or knight to f3. If knight to f3, we can already play short castle, and the position is very flexible for black. Black has able to develop all his pieces with no problem. So going back, if a3, we take on c3, takes, and now simply queen d6. If black goes on to trade off the queens, we are pretty happy because of the open a file. The endgame is already good for us. And if just say cd5, we can already take the pawn with the knight, having a good outpost for the knight. So that's why queen d1, and now we play the move simply d into c4, capturing the pawn, and now just simply c5. And after c5, black is already pretty happy with this position, because if you take, I can capture with the queen with no problem. If you try to push this pawn, I can already take, and I can already play knight to c6 followed by rook to d8. And black is already having a very comfortable position indeed. So going back, that's exactly what happens if white plays queen to b3. If white plays c into d5, capturing the pawn in the center, we capture the pawn back with the c pawn. And if now white is again having to move h4 or e3, if h4, trying to play in the spirit of Leela, h6, g4, bishop h7, h5, grabbing more space in the king side, but just simply knight c6, bishop d3, and now we first take on c3 check, basically trading everything, and now just simply playing knight to e7. And now what's our idea? Play queen d7, knight to a5, putting the knight to c4. Basically getting a complete domination at the weak squares, at the weak light squares, and the c3 pawn is going to remain weak at the whole time, and black is already having a very comfortable position. So that's exactly what happens if h4 is played. If a3, we simply trade off the minor piece, and now we play the move knight e7 with the idea of simply short castle. And after short castle, knight c6, knight f5, queen d7, rook c8, as I said, black is pretty happy. So that's exactly what happens if c d5. If white goes for knight to f3, we play the move knight to e7, bishop to e2, short castle, and now we take on c4, bishop into c4, and now finally c5. Again the same idea, striking in the center at the right time. After c5, black is again pretty happy. If you take, I can first trade off the queens and just play the move bishop c5 with a happy position. And if you try to push this pawn, I can already take on c3 first, takes, and now already e d5. And you can't really capture because it's already protected. So if you take on e6 now, just queen d1, let's say rook d1, bishop e6, and the position is basically roundabout even, so nothing to worry about. So that's exactly what happens if d5. So going back, that's exactly what happens if white plays knight to f3. Now coming to the main move, if a3. After a3, we take on c3 with a check, takes, and now we simply play knight to e7. Focusing on developing the pieces, and now we have the move knight to f3. Because if white ever tries to play c5, we can already play b6 in the future, and there's nothing wrong with the black position. So knight to f3, and now already c5, a very good and an interesting move. What's the idea? After c5, our idea is to put the b knight to the c6, completing our development and having a good position. If white takes dc5, white is already having a very bad pawn structure. If you take c into d5, we can already play queen into d5 with a happy position. For example, c4 check, already queen d8. Knight c6 is coming up. You can't really push because I can capture the pawn. So black is already having a very good position. So that's exactly what happens if your opponent plays a3. So yeah guys, with this we have successfully covered everything if white goes for playing the move c4 on the fourth move. So yeah guys, if you learned anything new today, make sure to like the video, share this video with everyone, and make sure to subscribe to our channel if you have not really subscribed it yet, because it's free for you, but it helps us to motivate to make more videos like this. So I'm going to see you soon, so till then stay tuned and keep watching OneShot Chess.